Hi, this is Jeff Kober, and we welcome you to Disney Insights. D23 is truly right around the corner, and so many have chimed in to share their hopes and expectations of what is coming. Get ready as I share my insights as to what I see as likely to be announced, not just for Walt Disney World and for Disneyland, but across the globe and even for the Disney Cruise Line. I think this D23 will make us more hopeful and excited for things to come. We'll look at the possibilities of what Imagineering will showcase in their Horizons exhibit, and how all of this will play out, well, ultimately in the parks panel on Saturday night, August 15th. So, join us as we get ready for D23, the ultimate Disney fan event. To set us up for what this might all look like, I want to cover some general expectations about what we know, which attractions and so forth announced 2 years ago. Well, we have to think about these things will start opening in 2027 beyond, and I don't think we will know the months or actual dates, perhaps the time of the year, fall or spring or whatever. But first, remember that Josh is now CEO, not head of parks. But being CEO for the first D23, he's going to want to make sure he's got some headliner moments, those drop mic opportunities to really announce something special. There won't be a whole plethora of them, but I think he's going to show up at some point, maybe that night or maybe even earlier on Friday night. The organization tried very hard to tie the Mandalorian film and the Toy Story film to the parks this last summer. So what he could announce on film and television night, that's Friday night, well, that could show up next summer in the parks. As for 2027, the schedule, well, actually, film and television-wise, we're looking at Star Wars Fighter, May, that is a big tentpole. Simpson movie coming out, Frozen in November, and then the biggie, Avengers Doomsday, which is supposed to be coming in December. Now, that's going to include X-Men and Fantastic Four, plus others. Also, I should note that Black Panther is having a new birth through his son as it kind of evolves. And that's supposedly coming even out further in 2028. Look for that as a possible, well, mic drop moment. Second, let me just mention that Neil Patrick Harris, well, he's hosting that Parks Panel event. I would really hate to see the entertainment aspect of this event override or steal time and energy from the news and insights on parks that really, I think most guests like myself are primarily coming to find out. That said, Neil Patrick Harris apparently loves Figment. Having done narration on how not to draw the Figment short that was put out some time ago, and he's also even worn a Save Figment shirt in the parks. So if this is a preamble of things to come, well then I'm all in. But be sure to come with a new Figment attraction in tow, or else there will be disappointment to follow. The third thing that they have on the showcase floor states the following. The Disney Experiences Pavilion returns with what Disney is calling its largest Imagineering pavilion ever. Horizons gives fans an up-close look at the people, processes, and projects shaping the Disney parks around the world, including progress on the ambitious expansion slate announced at D23 2024. End of quote. Well, there's a couple of interesting things about that. First, they're setting up to tell you this is not so much about what new hasn't been announced, but how we're fulfilling the things announced 2 years ago. Also, it's interesting that they call the show Horizons, which was the title of the show in 2024. It seems like they forgot what the title was 2 years ago. And by the way, for any Disney fan, Horizon is part of a nomenclature that speaks, well, it doesn't speak to the future of attractions. It speaks to a beloved Epcot attraction. And everyone who saw it is still sad that it's gone. In short, the title feels either oblivious or that you're setting an expectation that's not likely to be fulfilled. Well, let's go through the parks globally. Let's start with Disneyland and consider the things that are going to be talked about and addressed there. First of all, can we just put a little mention in for Fantasmic? A Dragon is Overdue, or something different to the show. That's an opportunity in and of itself. But there's also some big opportunities, and that is in Tomorrowland. This is a drop mic opportunity. If you just said we are going to go do the People Mover, that would be a big moment for fans there. But also you have Baymax, Wall-E, even the Fantastic Four that are part of this new upcoming Avengers Doomsday film. How could they play out in the old Carousel Theater, or if you pulled it down, something else, or in the Magic Eye Theater, or again, even throughout the People Mover? Yeah, we understand that you're going to want to, anything you're going to spend money, you want to have IP related. But all of those spaces could have something IP related to some of the shows that I just mentioned. And removing it, well, I understand particularly with the People Mover. You know, removing it is just going to make it, it's going to cost you to remove it, and it's going to make people very unhappy. At the same time, I don't know, you know, if you just spent a few $100 million on it, it would be absolutely a mic drop. By the way, the Magic Eye Theater, let's just talk about that for a moment. It appears that Tom Fitzgerald, who is over really the film catalog for the Disney parks, he just recently, well, retired. Hasn't been formally announced, but it seems to be going through the system out there. I think Soarin' Over America was probably his swan song. He's been responsible for so many films and attractions that you have seen over the years. But again, this may be an opportunity for something new, something different. Star Tours. Hey, in Tomorrowland, why not focus, and by the way, in Florida and in Paris as well, you've got Flight of Destiny film coming. How could you tie to that? There's a lot of possibilities that could happen there in the parks. Let's talk about Disney California Adventure. Mickey's Silly Symphony Swings is under rehab. At the same time, over at Adventure World at Disneyland Paris, they're doing a swing set themed to Pixar's Up. Could that be an announcement that might be coming? Adjacent or nearby is the new Coco attraction being built. Do we have a title for that? That could be mentioned here at D23. You remember that about a month ago, they put out this pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean that has this kind of projection that goes from human to skeleton. Could this be technology that could be used in that attraction? And by the way, tell us a little bit about the storyline at D23. Is it just a replay of the originals, or is it a different story that maybe we're going to hear? There could also be some special effects that could be showcased around this. Now, Avengers Campus, we have no official date, but which year could be announced, especially with Avengers Secret Wars film coming out in December of next year. Seems like they could be really trying hard to meet up and align as best they could with that date. Stark Flight Lab, you could be showing construction in progress. Heaven knows that there's a lot already going on there. At Avengers Infinity Defense, the big attraction, there are all sorts of things that could be showcased in terms of technology and what is actually going to happen there. We need some confirmations of what is going on. And oh, by the way, let's talk about Pandora Avatar. This is the time to really step forward and say, wow, we're not only doing this, but this is how this kind of plays out. Wouldn't hurt to have kind of a model there to show what that might look like and how that might change that corner of Disney California Adventure. And oh, by the way, I would absolutely welcome some idea of how we're putting in Pandora Land inside a California themed park. There needs to be an opportunity to address that in D23. As for Disneyland Forward, I don't think formal things are going to be announced here. there are some things happening in the Toy Story parking lot, approvals that have been put through, blueprints and so forth. What could happen there? Is there still a possibility for some theme park experience to be woven into what seems to be otherwise a more of a shopping, dining, hotel experience? I think it could. I think it would be a much smaller park. Think about what a couple of months ago when I talked about um, the idea of Westcott and the idea of hotel rooms around a World Showcase experience. How could that be themed but with IPs? Lots of possibilities to be considered. And by the way, Black Panther is one of the attractions that's always been considered for that Disneyland Forward proposal. And here we seem to have a new movie coming up in another year. Look to see if there are any hints about what is happening as it relates to Black Panther. Now, let's move to Disneyland Paris. There's not, well, when you go to Disneyland Paris Park, there's nothing really new at all. We talked about maybe a change to Star Tours with the new Ryan Gosling movie coming up. The big thing has been Disney Adventure World. Of course, they had major changes and additions last year with Frozen, and we have this big Lion King attraction coming in. It seems to me as I look at the construction photos, the show building and what seems to be the mountain to that is so much further pushed back. I just wonder, are there other things to be added here that we're not aware of? Tokyo Disney. Well, honestly, any announcements they may have are probably going to be on their terms, especially with big new additions and, hey, that new cruise ship that they are building and hosting. That especially applies to the potential Adventureland change that they talked about that would actually take out the Jungle Cruise and add attractions based on both Pixar's Up and as well as The Incredibles. Or over at Port Discovery, they've talked about adding an addition attraction there, but they haven't really announced what that is. Could any of this come? We're not sure. We know that Sugar Rush should be coming in shortly to replace Buzz Lightyear in Tomorrowland. And of course, they've got a big brand new Space Mountain coming in. How might that affect the other Space Mountains? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Over at Shanghai Disneyland, they just celebrated their 10th anniversary, big event, and yet they did not announce that they would be building a new park. They talked about another new hotel that would be toward the entrance of what would be not only the current park, but the new park, but they haven't announced it. It seems like they're going to do that on their own terms, but then again, boy, you'd think they'd want some, well, it seems like that announcement should be coming at some point soon. Meanwhile, there is the new Spider-Man coaster that is being built. There should be some retail F&B, more details to come on what that looks like. Again, is this a standalone attraction or is this a mini land? Same issue as with Disneyland Paris and the Lion King attraction. And they could give formal titles to all of this. Over at Hong Kong Disneyland, they too have a Spider-Man attraction coming in the form of a Tower of Terror kind of drop ride experience. And it looks unique and it looks pretty spectacular, but we've had no formal title for this attraction. And whether it's coming anytime soon, it looks like the Shanghai coaster is going to come a lot sooner than this one in Hong Kong. But notwithstanding, the attraction features not only Dr. Octopus, but other Avengers in this drop fall kind of tower experience. And it's going to be all part of its own Avengers district in Tomorrowland, where they already have a couple attractions in retail and food and beverage. New Pixar entertainment experience also coming next door to or adjacent to Toy Story Land. The image involves Monsters Incorporated. Looks kind of theatrical. Could it include some 3D? Could it have some relationship to the Globe Theater in the new Monstropolis? We'll come back to that in a moment. Then we have the Disney Cruise Line. The next up is the Disney Believe, and there are a lot of details to be talked about. Unique shows, particular dining that they're going to introduce or lounges that are uniquely themed. They haven't talked about the grand hall look or feel or what statues might be there. They haven't talked about the Disney characters on the stern or where it might be even traveling as an agenda. And yet, they have just announced in this last day or so that they will be making a much grander announcement, not at D23, but on October 7th. I think they want to give enough attention to that so that it's not lost in all of the discussion of everything else happening there. And by the way, they're also, beyond the belief, there are 3 new smaller class ships being built in 29, 30, and 31 that they're going to be somewhere in the middle of what a Magic style ship looks like and what a Dream or Wish style ship would be like. So that offers new possibilities and itineraries and destinations that probably were not available prior. Could any of that be shared to give us a better glimpse of what they're looking to do? And by the way, before we get any further, don't forget, if you like the kinds of conversations we're bringing to the table here, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast or to this YouTube video to make sure that you get other videos and podcasts as they come out. Now, finally, Walt Disney World, Disney's Animal Kingdom. First of all, people think that bluey thing's a temporary thing. I assure you, it's there for good, as well as in the Fantasyland Theater at Disneyland, at least for the next several years. Meanwhile, Tropical Americas. We haven't had a lot of restaurant and shop details. We could be seeing character carousel ride animals on display. We could learn more about, particularly when we think about Encanto. I'd like to, the mountains are already going up in Encanto. The construction is moving along very well in Disney's Animal Kingdom. I want to know how the casita's coming to life, what the ride vehicle is going to be all about, and particularly more story. In the original drawing of Encanto, they showed a purplish red river running through. That is a reference to Caño Cristales, or the River of Five Colors in Colombia. Yellow, red, green, blue. It's kind of a liquid rainbow. And it shows up actually in the Dos Oruguitas song at the end of Encanto. With all the butterflies and everything, that could be an amazing scene in Encanto. I think this is going to be, for Disney, what really Mystic Manor is for Hong Kong Disneyland. It's going to be so very unique. And speaking of unique, well, Indiana Jones, I think they're going to want to showcase how this adventure attraction is going to be very different than the Indiana Jones adventure at Disneyland. And certainly miles away from what your dinosaur was. This should not be your dad's Indiana Jones adventure. There should be some details with the special effects and the plot. And oh, by the way, we need some titles for all these things. And by the way, while we're at Disney's Animal Kingdom, what about a nighttime show? I know that there's a complication with, it's an opportunity for per caps at dinner, and there aren't a lot of restaurants. But hey, and people talked about maybe doing a drone show. I think you need more space for drones, but I do think you could do something that is water themed with highlights from Moana or Under the Sea or Pandora, Way of Water. I just think there is a possibility we haven't quite looked at. Now let's take a look at Epcot. There are 3 things that really are on everybody's horizon, or at least 3. Spaceship Earth, they promised additions to that. Where is that in the lineup? Journey into Imagination, that's a biggie, especially, again, because of our host that's going to be running this show. By the way, the other day, I was at Magic Eye Theater, and, they run a Disney Pixar set of films, which look beautiful on the screen, but there's 25 people in a room of over 500 seats. You want to talk about increasing capacity. That is an opportunity both there and at Disneyland. Oh, by the way, Paris has got a Magic Eye Theater as well. It's been used for Filler Magic, I believe. But that's an opportunity in all those locations to really do something major. And it would help improve the Tomorrowland at Disneyland as well as Epcot itself. And then there's the Wonders of Life, which sits there all alone. Lots of possibilities. I've heard people even say, what's the possibility of putting a hotel behind it and using that domed area as kind of the entrance to the hotel? I think a health themed, like it was originally, that could be utilizing Inside Out or Baymax, still has a lot of possibility. There's 4 simulators in there, and they probably used a lot of the parts to help fix Star Tours Next Door, but with a minimal amount of fix up and some really clever show elements, you could make that into a really great space that fills the Epcot mission, but at the same time makes it very Disney. So that's a real possibility that I'd like to see happen. Again, everybody wants a new country for the World Showcase Pavilion, and probably everybody agrees that if it ever happens, it will happen because there's some IP character related to it. I don't know. There's certainly a need for another attraction in World Showcase, if not another country, like Luca being in Italy or something of that nature. I'd love to have Mary Poppins show up. Not a lot of space in that corner, but something needs to occur in World Showcase. Will it be announced at D23? That would be a mic drop, but who knows whether or not that happens. Disney's Hollywood Studios Monstropolis is well underway, and I think they could announce that somewhere later in 2027 that puppy's going to open up, because they're doing the roller coaster at the same time they're building the construction of the building for that attraction, and all of that could be completed by the end of the year, then allowing coasters and show elements to go in after that, testing in summer, and then premiere in the fall. Who knows? Will they announce it for 2027? At the same time, we also could see some coaster vehicles on display and other details from that. And by the way, in the whole area, we've got a restaurant going in place of Pizzerizzo. We haven't had any description of that. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes on the university campus, maybe a campus extension or something that could be there. With Harryhausen's, we could have some menu details. I think it'd be an interesting thing to have a strange monster-style sushi Asian mix with, it is Human Day with standard sushi Asian dishes. And by the way, I also noticed that behind that and next to the factory, there is a playground park that apparently appears on the left side of that factory. Could there be a kind of booze playground that could be going in there as a small addition? These kind of things could be played out. Meanwhile, Indiana Jones, that Boulder Ball, there is space there. Are they going to reinvent it, or are they going to do something different? They could even have Olaf, who's doing the drawing. It's not opening till September. Maybe they're bringing Olaf to kind of showcase how the animators draw and that type of thing, give you a taste of what's coming to the magic of Disney animation at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Finally, let's look at Magic Kingdom. There could be a lot more Carousel of Progress details. I think that could be showcased here, and I believe the opening could be tied to the D23 event in 27. Then there's Space Mountain. Now, according to WDW Magic, who I think is a great source on many things, they had, on July 10th alone, sent social media to a frenzied belief on a slow news week that a complete transformation of Space Mountain would happen. Well, yes, there is a need for Space Mountain to be completely revised, especially when we look at Tokyo Disney's replacement going in. What could happen there? How could it be themed differently? I think it would be very interesting, because the capacity at Disneyland and the capacity at Magic Kingdom is the same. It's only that there are double seats, 2 seats side by side at Space Mountain with 1 track, and there are 2 tracks with a bobsled slide style rocket. I think it'd be great to keep the 2 tracks, but create a ride vehicle that's still side by side, sits up, makes it a little easier, of course, a little smoother. It'd be fun to keep 2 tracks going and kind of twisting around each other. But to do that, I think anybody would agree Space Mountain is overdue for a change. The question is when is that change going to happen? Of course, they could announce something and you won't see anything happening. I mean, they might not even take the attraction down until well into 27. or closer to Piston Peak. They could just be saying this is on the horizon. And meanwhile, they've got some other challenges. Monsters Incorporated Laugh Floor. I could see the need for a theatrical attraction and a ride, but do I think we need a theatrical attraction in Magic Kingdom and another one in Disney's Hollywood Studios? And by the way, what is that show at Disney's Hollywood Studios? Is it 3D? Is it live action? Is it some kind of combination of those things, which I think it might be something a little bit villain style, but on a grander order? In my opinion, that Monstropolis Globe Theater, that could be a monster comedy film that gets people to laugh to create energy. But then all of a sudden Randall comes in and replaces it with something really scary at the last minute. And then maybe CDC jumps in at the last minute to save things and so forth. There's a big focal point around what's in that show. And then to Tomorrowland, whether or not that original show with monsters, which is a very original show, but does it need to stay if you've got something else going on in the Globe Theater? And across the way, by the way, there is the former Stitch Escapes extraterrestrial attraction that was there. That space is hardly used. It's crazy that you go 100 yards into Tomorrowland before you actually come to anything in Tomorrowland. So that needs to be addressed, and that's part of the Magic Kingdom challenge that's there. Meanwhile, at the other side of Magic Kingdom, this is the opportunity for Piston Peak and for Disney to get everybody behind Piston Peak. There needs to be a real model that gets people excited. There needs to be details. There needs to be names. There need to be ride vehicles. There needs to be a real effort to say this is really going to be cool when it opens up, and to make people forget that they lost a steamship and a Tom Sawyer Island in the wake of it. So this is a real chance, and I'm really excited to see what they do on the showcase floor as to what they reveal about this attraction and how it looks. I really expect to see a model. Then next door, Villains Land. There, could we have a different title than Villains Land? That might be an announcement for D23. But I really think that the opportunity here is to confirm the two major attractions that are going into space. By the way, we also need to still verify what smaller attraction is going into the Piston Peak area. That has not been confirmed. I always thought it would be similar to the Cars attraction, the little car spinner attraction that is currently at Disneyland Paris, but might be something else. They don't need a spinner ride, but they need something that really gets people excited again for that and not make it feel like you've cheapened it to an amusement park. The Villains Land, well, that's really, I think there have been so many rumors, but I think you're going to see a Maleficent roller coaster style attraction play out, and then a boat ride, maybe themed to Hades, Underworld, or something of that nature, but something to give a showcase to a wide variety of different Disney villains. And then we need to know about restaurants and shops and things of that nature. Is there something that's going to transition from the Haunted Mansion in terms of a shop or lounge or restaurant? What does that look like? I think those are big details to come on Saturday night at D23. So, at any rate, that's my big sense of what's going on with D23, and looking forward to sharing with you what actually happens as I'll be out there in Los Angeles for that event. But I want to hear from you. What are your predictions? Please share those with me, especially on our YouTube page. Let us know what you think is coming, or what you think maybe I'm missing, or what you think might not be different from the things I've described in this video. In the meantime, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you. Please say hi to me if you see me at D23. And again, looking forward to sharing more with you in the days to come. Have a great day. We'll see you real soon.